What's going on, everybody, and welcome to today's topic, how to become an additive manufacturing influencer within your organization. I should preface this that this is a very different flavor of topic than we've ever done. Okay, so if you were looking to learn about the technical specifications of our technology, if you wanted to learn about the capabilities, materials, gosh, I think we even did a video a while back that really dove into the material science. This is not the webinar for you whatsoever. Today's sort of idea is to help you professionally develop in the world of additive. If you're viewing this on YouTube, thanks for checking us out. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you're seeing. Additionally, we are asked pretty much consistently every single webinar that we put on, is there any way I can get this video after the fact? Yes, you can get it on YouTube. Check out the MLC CAD Systems YouTube channel. Go to the 3D printing playlist and we'll have it there. So if you get distracted midway through, if you want to share this with a colleague, with a boss, it'll be there for you to do that. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and jump into today's topics. So what we're going to be discussing this afternoon is going to start with additive manufacturing leadership. What does becoming an additive manufacturing influencer boil down to? It boils down to being a leader in the world of additive. So that's what we want to set you up to become here today. And part of growing into a position like this is going to require you to maybe have some challenging conversations with your superiors, such as a VP of engineering. So we're going to kind of give you some insight into what a conversation with, some people are intimidated by these kinds of conversations. They're not always easy. You've got somebody who is typically very analytical, data-driven, and we don't want you to just get shut down. And if you do get shut down, we want to help you kind of rise above that. Then next, my boss is probably going to kill me for this next bullet point, but we are going to kind of give you some insight into what most salespeople won't tell you and probably what they don't want you to know. Sure, this is an additive manufacturing webinar, so it most certainly applies to additive manufacturing, but I can see it applying to many different, we'll say, capital equipment acquisitions that you'll come across throughout your career. And as we wrap things up, we have actually been working tirelessly to put together a sort of 3D printing proposal template. It'll kind of be more clear as I progress through this webinar why you might need something like that, but just to kind of give you a sneak peek into that. As your conversations mature, as you start to become this additive manufacturing influencer, you may want to put together a sort of formal proposal that gives others insight into why to grow an additive manufacturing department within your organization. So this is kind of like the bare bones template to get you started and on the right path to putting together a beautiful proposal if you have to do a presentation, for example. And then we're going to introduce you to some key players on the MLC CAD Systems additive manufacturing team. And these are the people that are actually going to help you put together the proposal as you move to the maturity of an additive manufacturing, really leading an additive manufacturing conversation. So before we begin, let's kind of ask the most basic question. Why in the heck would you want to become an additive influencer to begin with? And there's several reasons, but let's just start with MLC CAD Systems has been in the 3D printing world for years. So we've been doing this a long time. And what we've observed is that there are all kinds of opportunities for engineers to move in to positions that are really framed around 3D printing. Maybe not 100%, but part of your job may shift over into the additive manufacturing world. So certainly our fresh new engineers that are graduating from engineering school are going to be moving into these 3D printing leadership roles just because they've been exposed to these machines. They now have dedicated courses and curriculum to additive manufacturing. So they're coming to the table with the skill set, but there's absolutely no reason why our more well-established engineers that have been doing this 10 and 20 and 30 years can't kind of mix things up a little bit and learn some new things. Because the fact is, as additive continues to blow up as it has these past 3 to 5 years, there is an increasing demand for leadership in 3D printing. So let me pull my my video off here real quick. Okay, so here's kind of a beautiful quote that sets the stage for really what I just talked about and what's to come. So do you feel good in your current role? If the answer is yes, that's the perfect time for you to experiment with something new, to get out of your comfort zone. Because if you want to become an additive manufacturing influencer, you're certainly going to have to move out of your comfort zone, learn a new skill set. This is a quote from Pierre Nanterme. He was a French former CEO of a technology company by the name of Accenture. Beautifully said. If you want to move into these roles that are opening up, that really becoming an additive influencer may require you to basically take the initiative and, for lack of better terms, develop this role for yourself. Okay, so I think that we've set the stage, given sufficient background to begin to address, how do I become an additive manufacturing influencer? So step one is that you really need to frame it right. And what I mean by that is, ask yourself a simple question: what keeps my boss up at night? And make sure you've done your homework, you've done your research, you know about whatever technology it is that you're proposing, that your company ultimately acquire. And if you want to be a leader of, or essentially own the initiative to bring in 3D printing technologies, it better address what your VP of Engineering's main concerns are. So for example, if your VP of Engineering is spending 90% of his time concerned with your two largest customers, your proposal to adopt additive technology better address how it's going to better serve or allow your company to better serve those two largest customers. Whatever it is that occupies most of your VP of Engineering's time needs to be addressed in the proposition that you grow an additive manufacturing department within your organization. So step two is to ask for permission at each stage. I know that everybody has different personality types. Some are very assertive. My experience is the soft approach works much better. Rather than come and do an hour-long presentation and go straight for the jugular, the big ask on, can we purchase this metal machine? You need to start small and take this thing in baby steps. And first and foremost, maybe just a 15-minute conversation of can I spend some time looking into additive manufacturing? I watched a couple videos and read a couple white papers, and I really think this could benefit us by reducing our costs and reducing lead times from 3 weeks to 2 days. It could be a game changer. Do you mind if, towards the end of my work day, I spend 15 to 20 minutes just looking into how it might fit in? And, you'd be surprised. I think most of the time you're going to get yes. Spend a little time doing that. If you get a hard no, which is possible, you may just be dealing with someone who has so much on their plate that introducing a new project or initiative just overwhelms them and they kill it immediately. And I'll do my best to kind of touch on how to deal with a situation like that as we move forward. But the key is here, come to them with just small bits and say, hey, can I look into this, and then return with your findings and ask for permission as you kind of move to the next sort of milestone that gets you towards maybe putting on a more formal hour-long presentation with a proposal on why we should purchase that printer. But don't do it on your first visit. Ask for permission to engage and move slowly. All right, step three, it kind of seems very common sense, but document your research along the way. This particularly becomes relevant when you're moving into a very mature conversation related to additive manufacturing. You've really, led this to the point where you've got, a few executives or leaders within your organization ready to listen to a fellow additive leader. At this point, you're pretty much an additive leader if you've got your proposal all wrapped up and you're ready to really pitch your idea on why and how to grow your additive initiative. So, each step, what you've learned, it needs to be put down so that when it comes time to present this proposal, you're ready to go. Let's build a little bit on that previous slide that we just saw on what to say. So here's the what, where, and how to bring up additive. First key point is to make sure that you're empathizing with your boss here. You know the dynamic and the hierarchy at your organization, and you're going to have to work with it. So I'm not there, and sometimes when someone like me comes and does a professional development presentation like this, it's a little far-fetched. In theory, it all sounds good, but in practice, you're probably going to have to adapt some of this advice to fit your unique circumstances. I've been using specifically the term VP of engineering. Maybe there's someone, kind of lower in the totem pole, so to speak, that you need to visit with and collaborate with on something like this before you move it up to the individuals that really have the actual authority to say, hey, I want to put you in charge of this, and I want to get this equipment because I'm sold. You've really put something compelling in front of me. So there is, some other individuals that you may need to collaborate along the way with and get their advice, which, if you got too many people involved, sometimes that can kind of complicate things and slow things down, and you're really trying to satisfy the objections and concerns of more people as you bring more and more individuals at the table for this conversation. But overall, you just kind of need to, empathize with not only the VP of engineering, but everyone else that you're working with above you, maybe even below you. Bring them all in the loop, and certainly pay attention to the culture at your organization and make sure that you're not, doing something way out of line or offbeat. So, the platform on this is an interesting one. Do I just shoot an email? Do I just give them a phone call? Do we meet in person? Timing is huge. If you catch someone at the wrong time, they could even be pissed off about something in their personal life, and any idea you bring for them, it's just going to get shot down. So it's really that delicate dance and feeling someone out, because you don't want your idea dead on arrival, just killed because the timing wasn't right. If you're having a team meeting that's all about budget cuts and trimming the fat and how can we make things more lean, you're going to want to be very careful on how you launch an additive manufacturing initiative that most are just going to view as another capital expense, and here's kind of a fallback. So you get the hard no on, can we potentially adopt some additive technologies, and I'm willing to step up to the plate and be in charge of it and be that leader of additive manufacturing. If you get a no, here's a fallback for you. Why not, okay, so how about I get a little bit of budget and get some parts? And let's see what these, that's always a good place, and that's kind of a natural progression. When we talk about those small asks and asking for permission at each step, that's certainly included in them. So can I look into it? Things are looking good. Can I maybe get a couple parts? Can I get a little bit of budget, a few $100 to get a few of these parts made so we can see them for ourselves? I mean, the parts really are what do the selling in the end. Key point 3 is your verbiage. So I don't know if I gave the what not to say in a perfect way, but it's really, I found this amazing 3D printer. You can print in metal. Can we look into buying one of those? And you're asked, what's that cost? And it gets shut down. That's where you want to be kind of very careful with your verbiage and, just, what's it cost? Maybe I'm not really sure at this point. I haven't gotten that far. Uh, you know, First I want to see if it can even do anything for us before I get into the nitty gritty of costs. And maybe you already have that in mind. So a bit of these conversations, I think knowledge is power and you want to know as much as you can, but you really have to put your poker face on a little bit and, you know, not drop everything like a bomb on somebody who this is brand new to them. So you're gradually kind of bringing things up, asking some open-ended questions. What do you think about if we were able to eliminate outsourcing this highly inflated part that we've been getting from some machine shop across town, do you think that could be beneficial to us? Just kind of getting those open-ended questions. And we talked about that documentation process that sounds common sense, but really those kind of small pieces of information are really what's going to help us in the end and show that you are a competent leader that can drive the additive movement that you're trying to launch. And then key point 4 is really kind of staying in touch with this. You don't want to do things too soon where it's like 3 meetings in 1 week, but I think maybe kind of set in your calendar to try and have a sort of update meeting every 2 weeks or so with your VP of engineering, so that you can say, hey, remember how you said I could look into it? We're sort of rehashing what we've gone through, but it's some pretty simple points that are powerful if done correctly. Remember when you said I could look into it? Well, here's what I've learned. And, I think a natural next step, this is meeting 2, would be for us to get some parts. Do you mind if we use a little bit of budget to get some parts made and test those out? Sure, yeah, no problem. You get those parts and you test them out. Hey, remember how you said I could get a little bit of budget? Well, we got the parts, we tested it out, and now we're ready to move to the next step. I've actually been in pretty close touch with one of their specialists, and I'd like to propose a quick team meeting just to let everybody introduce themselves and get those key contacts talking to each other. So as you kind of move to these follow-up meeting 2, meeting 3, you definitely want to kind of push the buttons a little bit and give a little bit more pushback. Start asking those tough questions. Why would you not want to invest in a technology that's going to save you money? Or why would you, we talked about the example of 2 of your key accounts really consuming the bulk of your VP of engineering's time. If this is going to help serve them better, we could potentially expand our offerings. Why would you not want to, grow your department? And maybe that's not the toughest question you can ask, but I'm just trying to throw out an example of the progression of moving forward with an additive manufacturing initiative. Okay, now I want to switch gears a little bit. I feel like a lot of the talk about this conversation with the VP of engineering has been a bit abstract. So I'm going to bring Kyle Norman into the mix here to really kind of sit in that VP of engineering perspective. Full disclosure, Kyle has not been a VP of engineering, but he has sat in many management and leadership roles at various large manufacturing and engineering operations. So I certainly feel in full confidence that he can represent what you're going to run into as he sort of sits in that perspective of the VP of engineering for this segment of the presentation. So I'm going to turn things over to Kyle now.
Hey, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, as Jordan said, my name is Kyle Norman. I'm the 3D printing application expert here at MLC CAD Systems. And no, I have not been a VP of an engineering group anywhere. But what I have been is I have been an engineering manager and I've been a CAD manager at multiple large manufacturing organizations. And I've had to navigate these steps multiple times for large equipment purchases, additive manufacturing equipment, software, and so forth. So there's definitely some things I've learned over the years. I think the first thing that you need to be aware of, when you begin to try to get this meeting is be aware of your VP's time, right? Be aware of how busy this guy is and be patient. It's likely if he does accept your meeting that he's going to cancel once or twice. Don't get discouraged. That's the nature of a VP of engineering. They live to cancel meetings. Especially short, quick meetings that they're not 100% sure what the subject is. So when you begin to reach out and try to get this meeting, be very clear about what you're trying to accomplish. Um, Make sure that you drive home to the VP that hey, I'm going to keep this quick. I know your time is super valuable, but I think I've got a couple things that you'd be interested in. Be specific. As you begin to get into this meeting, be cognizant again of his time. Also, you need to understand his initiatives. So his initiatives, his KPIs. What is he being judged on by his boss? Or what are the things, like Jordan said earlier, what are the things that keep him up at night? Because that's how you're going to drive value home to your VP. It's important that you hit those things that really, really drive value to him. So let's look a little deeper into an engineering organization. When we really break down a VP of engineering's job, right? Often it works about like this, right? So you have 75% of new product introduction. So if you're not constantly developing new products, if you're not creating new products, new items to hit the market, ultimately you're kind of a dying company, right? So it's not always true, but typically that is the case. And then you have a percentage of his job is to keep your current product lines not only up and running and effective, but continually improve those. So you kind of have a sustaining side of the business where, hey, we already make this item, but look at this, we could make this faster, we could make it a more effective product, we could get it through the line faster. So when we look at new products, ultimately the things that are going to really drive value home to the VP is number one, how do I get this process? How do I speed this process up? Because everybody here that's ever been a part of one of these processes know this is a long, hard process. It's painful. It always is. How do I make it less painful? How do I make it more efficient? How can I help the new product introduction team to iterate quicker, faster, more effectively? Ultimately, that means you're getting your product to market faster and more efficient and with a better product, right? Ultimately, this all comes down to dollar signs. That's what makes the world go around, right? Beyond your new product introduction, again, when we talk about continuous improvement or sustaining, be looking at those things that you're already manufacturing. How can we improve this process? How can I show the VP that this part that takes us 5 minutes today to machine, if we did this, hey, we could cut a minute and a half off the cycle, or even a half a minute. You cut 30 seconds off a machine cycle. When you're talking about producing thousands, that's absolutely enormous. So driving those things home, understanding, how can I make the product that we're making today faster, better, and also be able to pivot with the market. So if the market demands that product make a change, how do I enable my people, my manufacturing guys to pivot quicker, faster, and more efficiently? So if we have to make a running change, can we make this faster? Can we make it quicker? Ultimately, it goes back to getting that new product to market faster or that modified product to market faster. Because let's be honest, the faster we get our product to market, the faster we're making money and the more money we can make. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. So, sitting in the engineering management chairs and CAD management, I always work to build a really good team, and VPs don't hire terrible people. They hire what they think are the best people. And they do this for a reason, right? So the intention is, hey, these people need to come to me, bring me ideas because I'm focused on other things. So I've always relied on my engineers, the guys that work for me to, hey, bring me the new stuff. You know, don't assume that your bosses or the VPs know everything about the latest technology like additive manufacturing. Don't assume they know everything. Go in there, give them a little bit of an education. So you need to try to always keep your meetings to like 15 minutes. So spend the first 5 minutes explaining to that VP, hey, here's how this 3D printing technology works. Here's what I've learned over the last, few weeks doing my research. Here's where I think it can help us, keep it very structured, but as well educational. Don't assume that he knows. Show him, teach him how this technology works and how it can help him. Be prepared to have multiple meetings. Also, don't think that you're going to walk in here the first time, have a meeting, and give him a perfect justification and he's going to say yes. Highly likely it's going to take multiple meetings. Highly likely he's going to need to digest this information. He's going to need to go away. He's going to need to think about it. Think about how it affects him, how it affects the organization. That's what any good VP would do. So expect that. Expect them to not give you an answer in your first, maybe even second and third meetings, but keep on it. So as long as you don't get a hard no, keep feeding him the information that he needs to make that decision. If you don't get a decision quickly, that means you probably didn't get the right information in front of him. So reapproach that subject. Get him some better information. So with that, guys, ultimately, it's up to you. We're here to help you. We can help guide you. Reach out to us. We're happy to help you begin to put some of this data together so that you can try to get this meeting, begin to broach this subject, begin to have these conversations, and become that additive manufacturing influencer that we're here talking about today. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Jordan. Thanks, everybody, for your time.
Thanks, Kyle. Simple yet effective advice, and we appreciate you there. All right, so let's move into the last leg. I'm very conscious of your time. I don't want to keep you 45 minutes or even an hour today, so let's kind of get there, but stay with us because I actually have some incredible news. Markforged is doing something they've never done before that you should really know about. I'm going to reveal it at the end. I know I'm going to hook you in and make you sit through the rest of the webinar, but I promise it'll be worth it. So stay with us here. So, this isn't rocket science, and, you may have already thought of this yourself. We're going to take empirical data here. We're going to look at your application before additive manufacturing. If you're machining your part, if you're outsourcing it, we'll look at your labor costs. We'll look at lead time. It can be difficult to put a number on, but there is a way to put a number on your lead time. So, we've done all this for the way you're manufacturing your part now. And then on the top right of your screen, I've got a snapshot of Eiger, our slicing software. It gives you all the statistics. You know exactly how long it's going to take you to print the part. You know down to the penny what your cost is going to be to print the part. And you put that side by side with your part before you started 3D printing, and you have a very clear data-driven recommendation to take to your VP of engineering or your boss. And here's the truth. Our technology might not be a good fit in the end. But if you're a true additive manufacturing influencer and leader, there's complete respect from your VP of engineering to say, hey, we did the research, we looked at these 3 applications, and unfortunately, we didn't find what we were looking for. But we're just going to regroup here. We're going to take a little bit of time, examine some other applications, and let's revisit this next month or next quarter and see if we can find what we're looking for. So here's the harsh reality. I guess it's more harsh reality for me than it is for you, but you're going to ask yourself that simple question: does the data justify a purchase? And my advice here is just be conservative with the numbers. Don't try and inflate anything and make it look better to help push an additive equipment acquisition through. It's only going to hurt you in the long run. If it's something you want to scale and you want to be a true additive leader, you want to start with some composites and then get another composite and get with another metal, inflating the numbers is just going to come back and bite you in the end. It's not even bad practice to add an additional 10 or 15% to your materials cost or your operating cost, because there are some occasional variables that come in. One thing, we like to test parts sometimes. If you've got a really geometrically complex feature and you're not sure how it's going to work out on the larger part, you can break that off at a larger part and print just that piece. If it's success, you move forward with the rest of the part. If it's a failure, then you scrap that idea to print that. And so, occasionally you'll go through things and you'll have a second iteration here and there depending. So add some cushion for yourself. And then, are there other expenses that I haven't thought about? Let's dive a little bit further into that and talk about the top 4 additive expenses that you may not have thought about. First one, actually the first 3 there, the software, materials, consumables, and downtime. I'm going to give you, I guess, a workaround how you cannot have how to make these predictable or altogether eliminate them when you get a 3D printing technology, and then we'll deal with metal on its own. So software costs. There could be a cost associated with third-party software for some additive technologies out there, and then the labor hours to get your software linked up with your hardware. And and some say to me, well, slice in software. It just doesn't matter. CAD is CAD. It doesn't matter. And this is just like the furthest thing from the truth that there could be. So your workaround on this, with the Markforged technology, software comes free and included with every printer. And there are other OEMs of additive technologies that do the same, but then there are OEMs that don't. And that can be a cost that you run into. So make sure you have all that information up front. So materials and consumable costs, you want to watch out. Sometimes the machine pricing isn't that bad. In fact, I ran across a situation where someone who was looking to invest in Markforged needed to donate one of the previous technologies that they have, and we approached the university to see if they'd take the donation, and they wanted nothing to do with it because they had a pretty good idea what the materials and the consumables were going to run them, and it was more than what they could manage. So you want to keep an eye. So with Markforged, you know what your materials costs are up front. Make sure when you get your quote, you ask for the price list on the materials. We'll provide that. They're completely stable. I've seen next to no changes in materials cost, and that's the way it's been since the beginning. There are no plans to increase that for any time in the foreseeable future. And then you've got minor things like some nozzles with the Markforged technology. Really reasonable. You're not spending much on your consumables operating costs. Then downtime and repair costs. So you want to know, is there local representation is one question to ask, or is it someone in another country that's selling your additive technology? You want someone that can come out in a reasonable period of time, and then you want to be cognizant of their hourly rate too, so that you're not hit with this huge bill that you're having to get approval for in order to get back up and running, especially if you're really using your technology and have it linked in to your business. And there are additive OEMs out there that probably don't even care about selling the machine because they know they're going to make all their money on the expensive parts and outrageous consumable materials. Questions to be asking. Know this before you get your printer. So let's get into the metal specific costs. And so build an infrastructure. I'd say the first 3, kind of 4, don't apply to the Markforged Metal X technology. So other kind of the traditional metal additive technologies out there, some of them require building. I've heard of folks having to construct whole new buildings, bomb-proof walls in order to get a metal 3D printer in-house. Skilled labor. It can come with a hefty price tag to get these dedicated operators that have the skill set and know-how to produce results with your metal technologies. Don't need a special building or special infrastructure for Metal X. don't need skilled labor for Markforged Metal X. Safety equipment. A lot of the traditional metal technologies out there, you've got to have respirators and hazmat suits. And this is just unnecessary with Markforged. It's clean. We call it office friendly. Put it right in your office with no concern. Consumable gas, post-processing. So it's not 100% required with Markforged additive, whereas you will find with the traditional metal 3D printing technologies that have been around a long time, it's non-negotiable. You have to post-process everything. Oftentimes it's like welded or completely attached to the build plate, so you've got to remove all that. We actually have like breakaway supports for our metal. You may want to do a little bit of processes. Excuse me, I can't speak. I guess it's getting late in the webinar. We are winding down. I promise. May want to do a little post processing, but it's kind of optional. Consumable gas. You're going to run into that with the Markforged additive technology, but we do have a nice kind of operating expenses sheet that I can provide you if you're to the point where you're trying to crunch the numbers. Same with electricity. I mean, on our composite technologies, it's negligible the amount of electricity that's consumed by a desktop or an industrial X series printer. With metal, it's a little bit more. It's still, I feel, relatively insignificant, and we address that in our operating expenses sheet. So just request that when you're ready to get your quote. All right, we're almost there, guys. Last topic for today is let's sort of just recap. So we talked about gradually sort of breaking the ice with your VP of engineering, your boss, whoever it may be, and you've had these conversations. You've looked into additive. You've sourced some parts. You have showed success with the parts, and now it's time to, take everything you've learned and recap it in a formal proposal, which can be a document, it can be a PowerPoint presentation. There are various ways to do this. So we wanted to make this really easy for you, and I don't want to give you the wrong idea. The team at MLC CAD Systems is here to do this pitch. That's what we do for a living, but the title of this was How to Become an Additive Manufacturing Influencer, and so you're really wanting to spearhead this and take the charge of having this conversation. So the least we can do is really line you up with the right documents and information to make this a good pitch in the end. So you do want to have a numbers portion where this is what it looks like right now with this part. If we switch it to additive, here's the savings, and really that's sort of almost like your climax. That can be difficult to do. There's a little bit that goes into it. That's not necessarily part of this proposal template that we put together, but it can easily be added into it. But we need to be completely clear that there's a lot of customizations that are going to have to go into this. The more customizations we make, the better document or presentation that we can put together for your VP, your manager, your boss, whoever it might be. But again, you're not starting from scratch. That's the beauty. The hardest part of anything is getting started. And, to be honest, you probably could put very little into it and still have a decent proposal. But, we're here to help you put this thing together. You're going to meet the team behind, really putting the compelling proposal document together for you on our as we close today's webinar and see who's behind that. And so in the end, you're going to put your name on it. I'm not going to go through this slide and describe everything that's in it, because let's just kind of take a glance at it. But just realize it's a work in progress. And because you attended this webinar, you're going to be the first to use it and see it. So just let us know if you're interested in being part of the early pioneers of our proposal document that you get to put your name on in the end. But don't get me wrong, you're going to have to give us some information and meet us halfway here so that we can put a good proposal together for you. All right, it's not like it's just going to be abracadabra, here you go. All right, let me get it pulled up. We can skim through. Generic title, proposal to increase efficiency and lower costs through additive manufacturing. Well, we can obviously customize this title, change it to whatever you see fit. And the form that we send to you to get those customizations will give you the option to change that title around.
So your additive manufacturing proposal, obviously this is Markforged specific, okay? We're not gonna help you put together a proposal for some other technology. But, yeah, so submitted by, this is your name right here to put, your stamp of approval. And, we kind of have a generic executive summary, ABC manufacturing. Right here is gonna be the crucial, in our form that we have you fill out. You're going to tell us, what do you guys do? What is it that you're making? Hopefully I have an idea of what that is since I've been working with you. But the made up example that we have here is motor mounts, specialized jigs, hard to find replacement parts. So your parts are filled in the blank there, so to speak. There's a little bit of kind of like playfulness in this because, we read stale things all the time. But we can certainly change that. But for the most part, this will kind of all stay the same. But the big customization, I guess, on this overview and highlighting of goals that we want to accomplish, your executive summary, so to speak, is that we're going to have your problems identified. So that documenting of the conversations you had with your VP of engineering, of all the homework that you've done. This is how we're going to use. We're going to use additive manufacturing to address these problems here that we're facing. So I just have a bunch of them listed. I wouldn't be surprised if yours matches a few of these. We don't have to put them all in there. I think the simpler and more focused, the better. The document goes on to really kind of selling MLC CAD systems, pitching us. So next is going to be the product that we have you focused on. So we've had some conversations. I think you have a good idea whether you're going to be printing metal parts. So then we're going to highlight our metal machines below here. Or if you're in the industrial composite series, or if you guys are just kind of starting really slow with a desktop and having that on your desk, as the name suggests. So overviewing the machines. And then case studies, relevant case studies. We will have identified, we can either provide you a bank of these case studies so you can peruse them and select the one that you want. Otherwise, we can pick the case study that's going to fit your application the most. The next page kind of highlighting the MLC CAD systems team. We talked about putting the hard numbers, the comparison, the ROI projections. And there you have it. So again, if you want to be in the test pilot run of this, just let us know, and we'll get going on it with you.